As a player, Joey Barton was one of the most controversial men in football. Outspoken, aggressive, tempestuous, rarely out of the headlines. As a manager, it wasn't much different. This week, Barton has stirred up a sexism scandal by launching a furious broadside against female pundits analysing men's football on television. It all began with a post saying women shouldn't be talking with any kind of authority in the men's game. Come on, let's be serious. It's a totally different game. I cannot take a thing they say seriously in the men's arena. Well, since then, he's been called a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. But is he saying out loud what some men, maybe many men, are thinking as well? Well, Joey Barton joins me live now. Joey.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome again to Piers Morgan. His platform is getting millions and millions of views. And today, again, he has one of the, if not the most controversial player. He has Joey Barton. And Joey Barton, from what Piers is saying, said something that is pulling hairs, is knocking people's head, is making people to go crazy, just like he was. So what did he say? We all seen the tweet. But now, let us listen to him and get his point of view. By the way, do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to like. Do not forget to click that notification bell. With nothing else to say, let's jump right into it, and I'll see you on the other side.
Piers, nice to see you. You okay? Looking well?
You've had an interesting day. Take me back to the initial post that you put up on Twitter. Clearly inflammatory, but that's your way. Did you expect the reaction that you were going to get?
No, well, it's part of the you know, when you say what sometimes you're thinking, it can obviously lead to, you know, a reaction. It wasn't entitled, you know, I didn't do that. I've seen, or certainly I've seen in my game where, you know, I do feel, Piers, I have enough credibility to say I'm probably a bona fide expert. This kind of tokenism creeping in, especially when it comes to, you know, when it's ruining my experience of both the game and obviously the journalistic standards. You know, it's not nothing to do with sexism at all.
I mean, what is your particular complaint? Is it that women have not played the game to the highest level and therefore they're not qualified to talk about it?
Piers, look, I'm against tokenism and I'm against you know, poor journalistic standards, especially when it comes to the game I love, which is football. No, it's everyone's game, you know, but there's two slightly different variants, obviously the men's game and the women's game. And all of a sudden, if you speak out in favour of, you know, saying a men's game, people come to you and, you know, I'm getting accused of being right wing because I've said what clearly a lot of people are thinking about the journalistic standards of some of the, you know, female commentary and co-coms and punditry that I'm seeing in the game that I feel, as I say, I think I'm a bona fide expert in.
I mean, you said today, I stand by everything I've said on women commenting and co-coms on the men's football, like me talking about knitting or netball, way out of my comfort zone. We've gone too far. You can't watch a game now without hearing the nonsense. Any man who says otherwise is an absolute fart parcel. I mean, do you accept that some of your language here was a little incendiary?
Well, that is X, or Twitter, as it was once known. That is what those platforms are kind of used for, as we all use them. It's just a tool. And it leads to this debate, or, you know, I don't want to see sexism in football, but if we don't talk about this properly and debate this properly, this is just going to further rise and ruin, as I say, the experience of watching, you know, elite level men's football. And as I say, everywhere you turn now, there's for what I would deem as an unqualified opinion, commentating, pontificating about the sport I love, and it's ruining my experience of it. And it's to fuel this woke agenda, and if we're not careful, we're going to increase sexism massively, because it's got to be a true meritocracy, Piers. We have to have people who are
right. But Joey, let me ask you again, because you haven't actually answered that.
To do those roles.
Right, but the question that I asked you, which you haven't answered yet, What is it about the women that you think is inappropriate? Is it because they have not played the game at the highest level of men's football?
No, Piers, as you know with me, I'll never not answer the question. No, it's absolutely not that. It's about, as I say, you have to be there on merit. Like you can't be there to fit this woke agenda that we've currently got going on in society. You don't have to have played the game. Lots of managers haven't played the game at a high level. Lots of good commentary people haven't played the game at a high level. Kind of Mark Chapman, Rory Smiths of this world. But they've earned the right via, hard work and over a prolonged period to get into that space. Obviously, it helps talk about the men's game. If you've played that men's game, the higher the level, arguably the better, because it gives you a unique experience. There's a lot of similarities between both sports, Piers, absolutely no danger in that. But the men's game is just played at a completely different speed with a completely different skill set needed, and for someone to stand there and say, I would have done this in this situation, or he's made a mistake there, who have no experience of that. And it's not just one or two, it's been taken over, and it ruins the experience for most men, and it's the men's game. And I feel, I don't want to come across as sexist, absolutely not. I've got a wonderful daughter, wonderful wife, my grandmother, big matriarch. I want women at men's games. At Bristol Rovers, we had Hair Game 2, and it's a great initiative to get women in the stadiums. But if we're going to talk about the technical nuances of elite level football, and we want to educate the audience, which is the punditry, co-commentary role, then we must do that with the most credible people, not people who tick boxes or fill quotas. And I do feel that at this moment in time.
Okay, but let me put two names to you.
Within that
let me
spot.
put two names to you. Well, three names, right? You've got someone like Alex Scott, who won a World Cup as a women's player, right, which has eluded our men's team. I'm sorry, I'm being told she didn't win a World Cup, but she certainly competed at a very high level for England for a very long time. You've got Laura Woods, who's one of the best football presenters in the game. She's a woman. She's been furious today about what you said. Why should people like that be excluded from the men's game?
No, I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm saying if you've earned the right to be there with credibility and hard work over a prolonged period, you should absolutely be there. I've got a daughter. I want her, if she would like to, Peter, to have the opportunity to commentate or co-commentate on a men's game, the men's football game, if that's what she chooses. But she should be there because she's worked incredibly hard over a prolonged period and has got a great skill set, not just because she's a woman and to fill a quota and this woke agenda, this tokenism. We have to be very, very careful. Look at what it's doing to other sports. And, I don't want to see the sport that I love ruined, and my experience as a man, it's ruining. I can't watch the telly now and a lot of the information is technically incorrect that these so-called experts, women experts, are saying about the men's game. They're factually incorrect. But
Joey, someone like Alex Scott, right, who has had tremendous success as a player, been very successful as a television presenter, is she not qualified? Does she not meet your criteria?
To talk about the men's game?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she hasn't played in it. She hasn't played in any games. I've played in and been involved as a manager in 657 professional men's games. Now, the women's game's a fantastic game at the minute. It's thriving. I've never seen as many opportunities. The England team wins stuff at that in the women's game. I think Sander Weigmann's done a great job raising the awareness for the women's game. It's phenomenal. But the men's game and the women's game in this country are different. One's about 200 years old and one's about 30, 40 years old. If you go back to kind of Doncaster Bells and the inception for women, I've lived through it. I've played football with women. I've no problem with women.
But Joey, here's my problem with the
enough.
argument, right? If you look at people like John Motson, greatest commentator I've ever seen, Barry Davis, right up there, Clive Tilsley, Des Lynam, right? None of them ever played professional football. By your criteria, why are they more qualified than someone like Alex Scott, who has at least played for her country many times? Why are they more qualified having not played professional football? In the end, the rules of football are the same, whether you're male or female. They're exactly the same rules.
they're the same rules, but it's a complete. Football's about a lot more than rules, Piers. It's time and space and velocity and impact and challenges and the games are at two different speeds. It's almost like if I decide Sunday I'm gonna go to Formula One and I start saying, listen, I would have done this if I was Lewis Hamilton in this corner and I'd have done that. And rightly Coulthard or Damon Hill or Eddie Jordan or whatever would rightly turn around and say, what are you on about? And I'd say, well, I drive a car. I've got a driving licence. Yeah, but one's going at 200 mile an hour and one's going at maybe 80, 70 mile an hour tops in this country. The different speeds. So to stand there and pontificate with authority and actually when it's factually incorrect, it's infuriating because I love high journalistic standards and I think we're compromising it with this tokenism. And if the girls
but let me ask
and the
you a
women are
question.
good enough to get there, it should be on a meritocracy. It shouldn't be on this tokenism because they're filling a quota and we need to get someone in there because that will lead even further to the sexism that we all want to avoid. We want it to be diverse and inclusive, but it has to be credible. We're talking about the best product we output in this country is Premier League football, the elite level football.
Okay, but Joey, let me ask you.
We've got to protect them.
You've never
They need
played,
the time out.
to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've never played Champions League or World Cup football. So does that qualify you to talk, notwithstanding you're a very good professional footballer, does that qualify you by your yardstick to comment on Champions League football or World Cup football?
Yes, everybody's entitled to comment. I can talk about Premier League football, I can talk about Taekwondo, but it's about credibility and journalistic standards rather than this, as I say, this tokenism should be there on merit, not for quotas. And and there's loads of, women managers, Emma Hayes, fantastic, Serena Weigman, we've spoken about. If they come across and managing the men's game, I have no problem with that. If they're the best candidate. Similarly with, there is some female pundits out there who are capable and have earned credibility over a long period. But also there's lots at this moment. There's well, I don't want to name names. I'm not here to name names. There's lots of good people. But also the majority are poor and the standards are poor.
One.
And it's factually incorrect information. Well, I heard the comments from the Liverpool Fulham game about, the Endo goal, the Japanese boy Endo scores. And the commentator was female, co-com's female, and she talks about Endo scores with his laces. Now, anyone who watched that who had any knowledge of football, seen that Endo scored with the side of his foot. But no one, because it was female co-coms and female commentator, no one said, hang on a minute, that didn't happen. So if you're a young, impressionable person who doesn't know and you're coming for high journalistic standards and content to educate and inform, which is what we're meant to do, if we're in those spots, then we have to correct those mistakes. And if it goes unchecked, it pulls the standard down, and we can't allow that to happen for this woke agenda.
Did you, for argument's sake,
it's taking
Joey,
over everything.
Did you think that Alan Hansen was a good commentator?
He was fantastic.
Right, so when he said they'll never win it with kids about Manchester United, and they won it with kids, he made a terrible mistake. I mean, does that discredit him?
Who hasn't made a mistake? We all make mistakes, but over a prolonged period, you have to have more successes than failures. So to get the opportunity, and this is what we have to be careful of, all those great commentators you mentioned before, Motti, God rest his soul, brilliant at what he did, their opportunities are going to be restricted because ex-female players are getting those opportunities. So we've got to be careful here because, I want a healthy game where women can go to the football and enjoy it, which they are. I've never seen more women, Piers, have football matches than what I currently see, or women's opportunities within football. And that's fantastic. And long may that continue. We need to be incredibly inclusive right across the board. But it has to be for people who are good enough, who've earned the right to be there. I don't care where you're from, how many games you've played, but you have to have a body of work that's credible to get you there, not just you get an opportunity because you fill a quota or you tick a box. And we've got to call it for what it is. And the world's going crazy.
All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, I've got 3 women lined up who will be responding to you, Joey, but you've agreed to stay and listen to what they have.
Okay, but before I say anything, or before I jump into what Joey Barton is trying to say, first of all, what is this word, tokenism? Tokenism. Tokenism? I've never heard of this word, tokenism. But the thing is, he is trying to say something and he is not trying to say the same thing he's trying to say. It's like he is saying something and trying to unsay what he just said. So in effect, he doesn't like women commenting on men's football. Full stop. Because he's saying, I don't want it to be that the women are being chosen because they are ticking the boxes. And then he's still saying, I want women to be involved in football. So what is he saying? From what I'm getting, from his body language, from everything he's trying to say, he doesn't like women commenting on men's football, period. It doesn't matter how he tried to make it sound not sexist or how he tries to sugarcoat the edges. He doesn't like women commenting on men's football. He is mentioning the pace of men's football. He's saying that he wants women to be qualified. What determines qualification? If a woman has been in men's football for 10, 20 years, I think she is qualified. If she's been watching, commenting, studying, been to uni, she is qualified too, even if she hasn't played. Because commentaries is not about playing. When you're commenting, it's because you are visually seeing, you've studied it, you've seen it over and over and over and over. You've amazed a wide knowledge of how football can be played. Then you can comment. And that is why people go to school. People go to school to study things and to give their opinions. Some based on facts, some based on experience. So, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing from Joey Barton, he doesn't like female pundits in men's football, period. That's my own take. I don't know what you guys say, but we are definitely going to listen to some women and get their own side of how they are understanding what Joey Barton is saying. But to me, personally, from what he's saying, I would say he doesn't like women commenting in men's football, period. Period. That's what I see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, usually I wouldn't give those kinds of opinions any particular credence, but the way in which he tweeted, especially calling out the young girl, the vlogger from Manchester City, I just thought it was out of order, because I've been on the wrong end of dogs abuse when I very first started reporting, and it didn't sit well with me. This is a young girl, she's on social media, she's not presenting Newsnight, she's not saying she's an expert in football, she's there because viewers of football are changing. We're getting more streamers, we're getting more influencers, and that's a different argument entirely. So that's particularly the reason why I didn't like what he said. But who is qualified to speak on football then? Because I've been watching the game for over 40 years. My first game at West Ham was before Joey Barton was even.
Okay, by the way, you see the girl in the middle, Pearl Davis. She is going to be on fire against the women. She is going to be 100% in support of what Joey Barton has said. I don't know what the women did to her, but she is anti-feminist. She doesn't like anything about a woman. She will not support them. She will fight against them till the death. I don't know why she does that, but I would have been thinking that women will always stick together. Because no matter what happens, men will always stick together. We will always support our own. But her, I don't know. And I will be I will be looking forward for her comments on what Joey Barton is saying. 100% I'm sure she's going to be in support of Joey Barton. But you never know. Maybe she's changed. We'll find out.
Born. I've been watching the game the whole time. I've watched hours and hours and hours of football. I worked behind the scenes at Sky for 10 years before I was even given a shot on camera, watching many of my male colleagues who were probably not always as good as I was, getting chances that I was never given. So I don't really understand exactly what you need to know. How long do we need to work in the game behind the scenes before we're allowed on camera? To be a pundit, you know, the laws are the same. I can read a game of football. Emma Hayes, Serena Wiegman can both read games of football. Are you saying that they can't provide insight? It sounds to me like Joey's got a problem with particular female pundits who, to his knowledge, haven't done enough in the game. But how does he know? And how do we quantify and qualify that? Because there are EFL players who are commenting, co-coms, being pundits on Champions League games. What level do you have to get to before you're allowed, as far as Joey Barton is concerned, to be able to be a pundit on the men's game?
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's a good question. Let me bring in Kate. Kate, what is your response to Joey Barton?
I think it's really clear that Joey doesn't appreciate that women can study journalism too, and they can study sports journalism. And if you're Bianca Westwood, you can watch thousands of hours of football and commentate and report into a Sky Sports studio, as she did for decades, on the men's game and be very informed. There has to be something more to this, I think. Look, let's take Alex Scott, okay? She's got a degree in sports writing and broadcasting. She's played for England 140 times. She played for her club career over 2 decades. How is she not qualified to talk about the game? Just like any other pundit, whether you're talking about Mark Chapman,
She's sure
Jake
is qualified.
Humphries,
She's sure
none
is
of them have
qualified.
played the game, but they've done the same as the rest of us. They've studied journalism, they love the game, and they're expressing their learned opinion and assessment on the game. I don't understand why that's so tricky.
Well, Pearl, I can see you rolling your eyes there. You clearly don't agree.
Well, I keep seeing women given special handouts and special treatment. I'm seeing the same thing that he's seeing.
It's not special handout.
One thing you didn't put in my bio is I'm actually a semi-pro athlete. I've been involved in athletics for 20 years. And no, men and women's sports are not the same. Men jump higher, they run faster. So I see where he's coming from. When I was listening to him talk, he was talking about the best person for the job should be the one that gets it. I didn't see anything wrong with what he said.
But some of the women who are getting these jobs are the best women.
I mean, I looked at their Instagrams. They look like influencers.
What do you mean by look at their Instagram? That has nothing to do with performance. What are you talking about? Listen. What she just said is bullocks. What has their Instagram got to do with their performance? If you look at Jack Grealish, look at Paul Pogba, Pogba. Look at which other player? Look at David Beckham. Look at Ronaldo. Look at their Instagram pages. They also look like influencers. So what she's saying doesn't really make any sense. Just like I was saying, she is never going to say anything really good when it comes to women and gender equality. She sometimes has some points, but generally she's always against women. Why? What did they do to you, Pearl Davis? What did women, your fellow women, do to you? Did any of them take your boyfriend, your husband, or what did they do to you? Being an Instagram influencer doesn't change. Nowadays, most of the sport, LeBron James, he's one of the best. He's an Instagram influencer. So what is she saying? What is she saying that makes sense? To me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. What she's saying. She's just been against women. Period.
you guys brought up earlier, I didn't know her, but I've seen women's soccer, football, here I'm in the UK, but women's football, they make it into an agenda and it becomes a political agenda, and I hate it. It ruins the sanctity of women's sports. Then it just becomes all about this woke nonsense. I agree with him. I think it needs to be the best person for the job.
I think it is the best person for the job.
All right,
I don't know what kind of problem Joey's got. Is this a...
But it is the best person for the job. They pick the best women for the job. That's what they do. They pick the best women for the job. The best women footballers, the best women athletes. They pick them to commentate, especially when it's football. Which woman have you seen that commentates in men's football who was not the best? Which one? All of them, they've played for a very long time. They've studied, so they have something to say. They might not always say the best, but let's not also forget, these women are commenting to their fellow women too, because the audience is not only male dominated. Women also do go to watch football games, and women will speak to women. Just like men also commentate in women's football. And when we watch, we are more drawn to a man talking about it. Just like women would be more drawn to a woman commenting in men's football. There's no... If you want women to go and watch football, men's football, you need also women to comment, so other women can also listen to them. Right? Is that a valid point or not? Pearl Davis, come and tell us, since you know all.
I've seen this everywhere.
Joe is saying that his
Everywhere
8-9-year-old
where?
daughter can never grow up to be a football
not what he
commentator.
said.
No, he didn't say that. No, he didn't say that.
How is she different? If she goes to...
No. That one, maybe you were distracted. Joey Barton never said that. He never said that. That is... He did not say that.
Study journalism.
All right, let me bring
she
Joey
knows
back.
about the game.
Let me bring
Just
Joey
like
back, because
Alex Scott,
Joey wants to
Bianca
respond to
Westwood,
that.
Just like Kelly Cates, how's that different?
All right, let's... Joey's been listening to all this. Joey,
Players don't
you want to
necessarily
respond, I
make
think.
good pundits,
Well said.
and they
Well,
don't always
well
talk
said. Look,
articulately.
I take on board everything. You know, I've known Bianca being in and around the game for as long as she has, and she's worked incredibly hard and does a fantastic job. I wouldn't say Bianca's there on tokenism. That's not what I'm. She's worked incredibly hard and has earned that recognition and reward within the industry. But that's not everybody that's in the game on the female commentary side. That's not. And as the lady rightly points out there, she's seeing exactly what I've said. This is not sexism. This is saying the best person for the opportunity should get that role. We've seen when an inch has been given in other sports. I think maybe in your collegiate swimming, we've seen huge problems with Lou Thomas and Riley Gaines, and I don't want to even go into that. But we've got to be careful that we promote the best person for the job, who's worked the hardest to get there. And for me, in the commentary space, the sport that I believe I'm a bona fide expert at, the women haven't reached the level in the commentating and punditry as the men, and they're getting opportunities that restrict the men's opportunities, and that's wrong. We should create a meritocracy. The best who work the hardest with the most ability get on and get better and get rewarded and get recognition.
Let me just say something. I'll come to Bianca. Wait a minute. Time out, everybody. I want to just read back Joey's own words with that first tweet. It wasn't a question of meritocracy. You said women shouldn't be talking with any kind of authority in the men's game. Come on, let's be serious. It's a completely different game. Bianca.
Let's focus on the tweet. Okay. What did he say? Joey Barton said women shouldn't be talking with any kind of authority in the men's game. Come on, let's be serious. It's a completely different game. If you don't accept that, we will always see things differently. The women's game is thriving. Fantastic to see. I cannot take a thing they say serious in the men's arena. Namaste. That is... Namaste means I come with peace. Yeah, he was...
There was no meritocracy there. It was all women.
Okay. No, listen, Bianca, do you think Bianca, can I just ask you a question? And I respect your opinion massively. Do you think the women's game and the men's game is the same game?
the laws of the game are exactly the same. The same rules apply.
I never asked you that.
Whether it's yellow card, red card, offside.
Game.
You can read the game. It's still exactly the same. There's 2 goals and 11 players play. And
Bianca,
you can bring on...
But one thing we have to just be aware of is reading the game and playing the game are 2 different things. You can study the game and read the game well. Just like some managers, some of the best managers have never played the game. So what have they done? They've read the game. They've understood the game. And they are managing the game in a top level. So what he's saying doesn't really make sense. A woman can read the men's game for a very long time, understand the men's game, and commentate on the men's game. She is not physically competing with men in the pitch. She reads the game. She watches clips, matches, read tactics, strategies, study coaches, players, strikers, defenders, goalkeepers, and you'll be able to use the knowledge that you've got to commentate on the game. So what he's saying doesn't really make sense, and I do not support that. If Pearl Davis, obviously, she's going to support that because she's anti-feminist. I'm not the one saying that. That is how Piers Morgan introduced her. So, to that aspect, Joey Barton, you are wrong. Your opinion, probably keep them to yourself. The women can commentate in the men's game. And even some men who commentate in the men's game are shit. Some women are better than men. So what are you going to say about that? Because some men are absolutely shit. Especially, even some men who have played the men's game do not know how to commentate on the men's game, because playing the game is different from you commenting, reading the game, understanding the game without you playing. So those are 2 different things. So women can do that.
Have you ever been tackled at full speed?
It's not about that.
Have you ever been tackled at full speed by a fully grown man?
It's not about that.
Neither of men.
It's not about that.
You
That
seem to
really
have changed
doesn't
your
have
opinion.
anything
with those glasses,
You seem to have changed your opinion.
Listen, with those glasses, you should have, I don't know if you're trying to make yourself intelligent by wearing those glasses, Joey Barton, but what you're saying doesn't really make sense, because being a commentator is different from playing. If you're trying to bring that, is the same question you can ask some of these commentators who have never played football. You're commenting on football. Have you ever been tackled by a man? Because if you ask that question to women, you have to ask the same question to these male commentators who have never played the game. The issue is about commentary, giving opinions. Are you qualified to give opinion and to comment on men's football? If you've studied the game, if you've been in the game for a very long time, then yes, you must have something to say about the game. Football is football. When it comes to commentaries, there's no different. Commentaries has no female, no gender. Commentaries has no gender. If you're commenting on football, you're commenting on football, full stop.
Joey, when you were talking to Piers earlier, you had a problem with women who weren't qualified to talk about the game,
But he's saying
who didn't
that
have the
Don't talk over
journalistic
each other.
background to talk about the game, and now you're saying the game's different.
He's saying that
What do you have a
women that
problem
aren't
with?
qualified
He's
keep
changing
getting
his
these
mind.
jobs.
He's
That's
changing
what
his
he's
mind all the
saying.
time.
Have you got a problem with the
Being
journalistic coverage, or have you
a
got a
top
problem with the playing of
player-
the game?
Please don't all talk
You're
over
just
each other,
shouting at me,
Bianca.
girls. You're just shouting at me. I can't hear you.
Being a
This
top
is becoming
player
a
doesn't
farce.
mean
Let's
you're
have
going to be
serious
a top
conversation.
pundit.
This is
Yes.
becoming a farce.
But not all
At
pundits.
the men's game, I'm here to
but
talk about
you're
the
not
men's
giving
game.
these
I'm
women
not
a
here to be shouted
chance.
at.
Joey, you're not
You're
not
paying
giving
me.
these
I'm
women
not
a
getting paid
chance.
to get shouted at
Because
by you. I'm here
not-
to have a sensible conversation.
Not everybody is a consummate broadcaster when they very first start. Did you ever see Gary Neville when he was first on Monday Night Football? He said himself he wasn't brilliant. You have to learn on the job when
terrible.
you're live.
He's
You can't
still-
learn live
he's
television
still a
anywhere
work in
but
progress.
live television. That doesn't mean they don't know anything about the game. Maybe they're just not
But
brilliant at
his
broadcasting
whole
yet.
point,
Like
his
when
whole
I
point
started,
is that women
I
keep getting
I got
jobs.
absolutely
She's talking to this whole
terrorised.
panel. She's
That
telling
is
everyone
not-
else
You've
to
not
No,
done, you've not
what
done
are
this
you-
either.
The thing with this woman, Pearl David, is she comes and she has this quirky laugh. She laughs, she mocks people. That was not the whole point. What he said was that he doesn't want women commenting on men's football. Full stop. That's what he said. It was not about being qualified or not being qualified. He said, I don't want women commenting in men's football. One, he now switched to, have you ever been tackled by a man? That's different from being qualified. Because if you're talking about qualification, if you've studied football, if you've studied sport journalism, if you've been a journalist for 10, 15, 20 years, watching football, commenting on football, then you should be qualified. If you're not, then you've been wasting your time.
I got absolutely terrorised when I first started live reporting because people said I knew nothing about football. That wasn't the case. I'd been watching football since I was 6 years old. I wasn't a great broadcaster at first.
But she's a woman. What do you mean nobody's talking about her? She's a woman. She's a pundit.
Now I get men coming
What
up
are you talking
to
about?
me saying how great I am.
I'd like to know from Joey Barton which women are not qualified to do this, because I see some very talented
Joey, you've got to give us one name of someone you
don't think. Give us a name.
And I'd like to know which ones do not deserve
Let's
to
have
do
one
that.
name, Joey,
He
before we
singled out that
finish
poor girl
this.
Man City, so he should tell us.
Are you guys
Let me
saying
ask
there's not a
Joey,
single-
one name, Joey, of someone you don't think is up to it.
One name, Bianca. Would you like one name?
One name.
Of course, I also want the name.
One name.
I'm not even going there. I don't have to give you anything. I've come on to have a sensible debate.
Come on.
You just want to shout at
The
you.
problem is, Joey, when you
the men's
talk
game-
about...
All right, I've got to leave it there.
When you talk about this...
I've got to leave it there. All I would say, listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. All I would listen. We've got to leave it there. All I would say is, I do think Joey's being a bit unfair. If you talk about all women in your tweet, and then you won't name a single woman you actually personally object to, but think it should be a meritocracy, that is a confusing message. But look, I will say also, as I end this, I will say this. I will say, no, we've ended the debate. I will say this. There are a lot of men who I saw replying to Joey, and they've replied to us, who agree with it. So this is a debate that probably ought to be aired, and we've had it, and I appreciate you all joining me. So thank you very much.
You cannot say something like that without naming one person. Name one person. If you say someone not qualified, name them. Name them if you really believe in what you're saying. And for Pearl Davis, I don't know. Do not try to change what Joey Barton said. The tweet says what he said, and he has just explicitly expressed what he meant, which is that he doesn't want female commentators to be commenting on men's football. Period. So there was no mincing of his words. His tweet was clear, and he was wrong. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Was he right? Was he wrong? Some women are good. Some female commentators are good. Some are shit. Just like some male commentators are shit. I mean, some who have played the game, they're shit. Some who have not played the game are shit. Same thing goes to football managers. Some have never played the game. They've just studied the game and they are brilliant. Some have played the game in the top level, but they are rubbish coaches. This all has to do with, are you capable? Are you qualified? If you are, it doesn't matter if you're male or you're female. Anyway, guys, that's me for today. Piers Morgan versus Joey Barton. Pearl Davis on football, female football commentators, and tokenism. Tokenism. Oh, that's a new word. I'm good. Tokenism. Woke. Tokenism. See you guys on the next one. Stay safe. Try and please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and also please push that notification button so when I do these videos like this one, you'll be able to see them. See you guys on the next one. Stay safe. Peace, and I'm out.